Hello, welcome to my video. r/AskReddit. How could 2020 possibly get worse? The China/India border situation going from a standoff to a full-on shooting war. Well, in the case of my country, Chile, we had massive protests since October. Government handled it pretty bad and our economy crippled. Now with the pandemic, again the government mishandled it, and we are having a pretty nasty second wave of infections. Only thing that would make things worse would be one of our recurrent earthquakes. Chile is known for having devastating earthquakes every 10 to 15 years. Last big one near the capital was around 10 years ago. If government mishandles it again, our economy may hurt in a irreparable way. It's hurricane season, and wildfire season, and tornado season, and duck season, rabbit season. Some sort of large-scale electrical failure would be the icing on the cake. A proxy war between any two nations' nuclear powers that turns nuclear. More specifically, since everybody's asking, China vs India, like what's going on right now, or the US vs Iran or Saudi Arabia vs Iran. And finally, American Civil War 2. We find evidence of alien life, but it's like the assimilating one from The Thing. A world war, World War 5. A war so intense it skips over 3 and 4. Yeah, to rewind. If we were stuck in a 2020 time loop, Australia is told to prepare now for the coming bushfire season. Anybody remembers post from 3rd of January? It was something like, first day of New Year WW3 starts, second Australia is on fire, third day Pope hits woman, what will happen fourth day? And people were joking what terrible shit will happen, and now it's like worst year since 1939. 2020. After seeing this post, write that down. Write that down. Not sure, but the first 5 months feels like 5 years. Was talking to my wife about Hong Kong protests and Australia wildfires, and it seems like it was a couple of years ago. I'm watching the US to see how the elections are going. That could really give 2020 the cherry on top. A double pandemic. You just had to ask, didn't you? You will go down in history as the person who jinxed humanity to our annihilation. There will be no recorded history to go down in after an annihilation. We'll be scratching Op's name into the walls of our underground cave dwellings as we slowly drift into extinction. 20 million years later, the beaver folk, the new dominant intelligent beings on the planet, will bat their tails on the floor in excitement at evidence that once other beings walked the earth, and will conclude they died out through lack of dams. Calling it now, the second half of 2020 is gonna be the best comeback in history, starting with a rocky fourth montage. Let's see, how could this happen? 1. Australian fires burn away almost all plants except for a small bush that has randomly mutated to resist wildfire. The bush spreads rapidly to cover the whole continent and bushfires are no longer a thing. 2. Turns out Kobe crash was a ruse so he could do an undercover TV show. Turns out to be the best show ever made. 3. With so much research going into coronavirus, scientists accidentally stumble across a method to cure all types of cancer. As a bonus, it's a non-American company, so it's provided for no profit. 4. Kim turns out to have nearly died, but makes full recovery. The near-death experience makes him fundamentally change his outlook on the world, and he makes North Korea an open country that is friendly with the rest of the world. A massive meteorite hitting the earth at a time of heightened tensions between India and China, and is mistaken for a nuclear attack, causing a full-on exchange of nukes between the two. Then the US, Pakistan and possibly Russia would get involved, and you know, if Pakistan gets involved, India would launch an attack towards Pakistan. And forgot about the US/Russia conflict. Yeah, it's not gonna go well. Confirmation that the UG-99 stem rust has spread beyond East Africa/the Middle East to multiple points in Europe, East Asia, and the Americas, permanently threatening the global supply of wheat. COVID-20. Yellowstone. At least for the USA. For my country, Jacob Zuma somehow makes it back. Yellowstone caldera blowing would mess up more than the US. Large portion of the world would be fricked. Yeah, mass refugees from the U.S. Not to mention fucked world economy and rapid climate change. Whole world would suffer. I live in LA and today I was thinking the universe could truly frick us by finally having the big one strike this summer. But I guess that's just regional and not more awful shit for the entire world. It would destroy Hollywood, on top of the ripple effect of essentially removing the world leader of cultural trendsetting. The money it brings in accounts for a not small part of the USA GDP. Add to that the devastation of one of the two most influential cities of the country, and such an incredibly long list of dead celebrities. That combined with the expense of the relief efforts could push the country firmly into a second Great Depression. So, no, not just regional. 3 ancient men found frozen in a pillar in a cavern, with strange masks made of stone scattered around the place. Today is the beginning of hurricane season. A hurricane season already forecast to be among the most active ever, and which nearly broke the May record for storm formation. Tide plus one storm almost developed plus another likely to in the next day or two. Several X-class solar flares that completely destroy global telecommunications, household electronics, and power grids all over the world, thereby knocking humanity back to the Stone Age. Insert whatever time period you think would best suit the scenario, i.e. 1950s, 1900s, 1800s etc. Wait, maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing to have happen. Edit. Several people seem to be focusing on the Stone Age part of the above statement. If it makes all of you feel better about this hypothetical scenario, I have struck out the Stone Age part and left it up to the end user to decide how this scenario plays out. The government taking away more internet privacy. They actually renewed the Patriot Act, meaning they can look through your browser and search history without a warrant. So yes, it got worse. America spirals completely out of control. Like total anarchy. Trump re-elected in November. And if anyone thinks Americans aren't dumb enough to do that, just look at 2004. 2 wars, one launched for a lie, and got re-elected with a majority. The magnetic poles are going to shift. America just straight up becomes a fascist nation, without even trying to hide it. Second wave of coronavirus turns out much worse than the first wave. Economic collapse because of a second wave. Yellowstone erupts. World War III erupts. Trump is re-elected and wastes no time in using his second term to get all the things he didn't do in his first. Bolsonaro goes full dictator. The Crew Dragon burns up on re-entry. It's an election year. It could get a lot worse. Coronavirus vaccine goes nationwide and 2 weeks later 99.9% of recipients become zombies. The internet goes down. So far things haven't been that bad for many of us because we still have the most advanced entertainment and communication systems humanity has ever known available at our fingertips 24/7. American Civil War 2.0. Israel declare war on Palestine. China does anything. The San Andreas fault line goes off. Yellowstone has a full-scale eruption. Aliens. Zombies. A huge solar flare. America has a civil war. Lord Voldemort returns. It rains spiders in places other than Brazil. A Sharknado. Asteroid impact. Nuclear war. Rick Sanchez shows up. Someone makes time travel and changes the timeline. For me and some others, yes, but there has been worse years in all of our history as others have stated, and I'm not going to repeat what they said. I'm looking at this from a subjective standpoint as to prove why 2020 is a shit year. Subjectively, for me this year literally kicked the shit further down the drain for me. Lost my job twice, or I can't visit my family members who are on their deathbed and barely scraping by. You hear about COVID-19 24/7 and just want to stop hearing about it. You are sick of the hysteria and the hopelessness. There always seems to be something new threatening the world every month, like fires, COVID, murder hornets, and now hurricane season. Not a good mix with COVID. There is nothing to do for enjoyment before you can say, well, there's things you can do at your house, you miserable prick. Let me tell you, there is only so much you can do before you get bored at the thought of anything, and everyone just wants this dumb lockdown to end already and doesn't care anymore. Everyone I know is burnt out with this year and wants it to burn in hell like it deserves, and probably where it came from. There is nothing to look forward to as it's shut down. People have given up, more like forced to, activities that they enjoy. Just because of COVID, people lost their jobs, graduations, and lives of people that they love. I'd say 2020 is a top contender for the worst year ever, but doesn't beat the 1929 stock market crash, the 1930s, WWI and WW2, but nonetheless a top contender for destroying lives and sucking enjoyment out of everyone. Dear 2020, go back to where you came from and let's just skip to 2021 already. Fuck you 2020, and I hope you rot in hell 2020, the year of hopelessness and lower expectations. That's all folks. The immortal Queen of England dies. You could step on some Lego, walking through a war-torn city, a cold mist occasionally shooting up your spine as you carry a bag full of scavenged food across the town. The world hadn't been the same since World War III, the third wave of the pandemic, the re-election. As you get back to your safe house and begin undressing and unloading what you gathered, you stepped on a Lego. Pain shoots up your leg as you collapse to the floor holding your foot. Your vision starts to go black as it begins to become unbearable. It seems like your hard work in the end didn't really pay off. In the end, it wasn't any of the apocalyptic things that done in The Survivor of the Wasteland. Instead, that it was something far less deadlier, a Lego. Microsoft decides to flex and lock all pirated content on our SaaS, always on, spy telemetry boxes. Craig. China going to war. Nukes. Just wait. The accelerated trials for COVID-19 vaccine gone wrong. Instead of preventing infections, the vaccine helped the current strain evolved into something much more deadlier. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and hit the bell for more content.